Yes, spot on. So, can you just say for the record, what's your name again, please?
My name's Mickey O Farrell.
All right, nice one. If you just look at me rather than Mike, that'd be brilliant.
No problem.
Right, so so where you come from today?
I've come up from Hatfield in Hertfordshire. I went to my first Manchester United game, 1965. First game at Old Trafford was 1968, Easter Monday, 1968.
Okay.
Fulham at home, 1-3-0.
Nice one.
Best Charlton and Aston.
So what made you support United rather than the team down south?
It's quite a ridiculous reason, really. When I was a kid, I didn't have an awful lot of interest in football originally. I started playing it and found I was okay at it, so took an interest. So I actually didn't support a team. I came from a family. My mum was one of 10 children. They were from the Camden area of London, all Arsenal. My grandfather, her father, was a big Arsenal fan. And but I read the life story of Bobby Charlton in a comic that I used to get then. And I'd like to say I didn't have a football team to support, and so I liked the name Bobby Charlton. I thought it was a really good name. It was a name that rolled off the tongue. And I asked my mum, who does Bobby Charlton play for? She said Manchester United. I goes, right, that's it, I support Manchester United.
Fair enough, right. Okay.
Crazy reason, but and so much that's ensued from that ridiculous choice. If it had been called Archibald Leach, I think it's Cary Grant's name, isn't it? Archibald Knox or something. It might have all been my whole life might have been very, very different. Old Trafford?
Yeah.
Never had a season ticket in my life.
Right. But how often did you used to go?
Well, we used to have a thing when we went from London then, keep our 100th game. I did my 100th game in 1970, and in season 70, 71, 73, 74, I did every single game, home, away, League Cup and FA Cup, everything, done the lot. I've done that once with FC. I knew I had to do it once with FC. I did it 2 seasons ago. Of course, remember in them days you didn't need season tickets. It was very uncommon for people to have the people I used to knock about with. Basically posh people in the seats had season tickets. There's no season tickets on terraces. It was unheard of to have a season ticket.
Okay.
Well, in retrospect, I can see it all dates back to the late 70s when they sold the badge, when they changed the badge because they couldn't copyright the badge that they had. And this is what the song about. This badge is your badge. This badge that alludes back to that. But I wouldn't have seen it that way at the time because you just blindly accepted it. You know what I mean? But obviously the real misgivings, really started with the Taylor report. And I can remember. When they went PLC in what was that? It was '89, wasn't it? I bought shares. I bought £100 worth of shares, which obviously never cashed a dividend. I still got all the dividends at home. Never even got my money off Glazer. Actually, that's another story. £3,000. I'm out on that. But
can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, because I changed my address, and they fucked up and was still sending my cheques to the old address. And then my father died, and things got cleared. I possibly could still get it somehow, but I'm still owed. What did I have? £4 a piece, 2,100 shares, something like that. But anyway, with the dividends, it'd be about £3,000 and all that I'm owed. It's possible it could still be chased. I'm not very good at that sort of clerical stuff, though.
Fair
You know what I mean?
So, when did you first start hearing about United FC?
Yeah. Well, I say we'll just go back. When did it first start going wrong? But I can remember when I had the shares. I bought my shares just to go up to the AGMs to sort of vent off. And obviously, it was the Taylor report that really started getting me worried. Obviously, with the talk of all-seat stadiums and that. And I think it's fair to say, I think I'm right in saying this, I think it would have been the 1990 AGM. It was the first one they had at Armitage Centre. I wrote a leaflet about it and stood outside the thing handing out a leaflet. And because there were fanzines at that time, but there was no Independent Supporters Association, you know what I mean, and no Shareholders United. There'd been one, and it was at that time there was a meeting by a group called Hostage of Season Tickets Against Exploitation. And that was held in the Old Trafford Cricket Ground. I went up to that, and that was around about 1990 and that. But that's when it all really started going a bit sort of pear-shaped for me. You know what I mean? When I first started getting a bit disillusioned. Well, I heard the idea. By the time 2000 had come round, I was down to just going to sort of maybe 3 or 4 home games a season, very few away because you could never get a ticket. Got fed up going to an away game and ended up sitting watching it in the pub on Sky Telly, you know. And I heard the idea was floated about having you know, a new club and all that, you know, on the lines of Wimbledon there, you know. And basically, as I knew straight away, it was the most absurd, ridiculous idea I've ever heard in my life. You know what I mean? The concept of me going to watch a different football club to Manchester United or anyone, well, it was ludicrous. It was, you know, so ludicrous as to be off the chart of rationality. You know what I mean? It wasn't an irrational idea. It was just impossible. You know. And the next thing I knew was I read Oliver Holt in the Daily Mirror. I was getting up to go to work one Saturday. I was reading the Daily Mirror, and he was saying about it had happened and it was on. And that was the first I heard of it, you know. And I remember reading about it and thinking, fuck me, they've actually done it, you know, and being so intrigued. And then, you know, and I thought, well, and anyway, so sort of then I read about the next game down at Wimbledon. I read a report in the paper about that, and there was a comment in there from someone who was at the game saying they're crazy about this club, then fans, because they own it, you know, it's their own club. And as I was reading that, and I just thought, this is everything I believe in. You know, what the fuck am I doing not involved in this? This ain't, you know, basically it was just messing me head up, you know, because the concept of not being at Manchester United was unthinkable. The concept of not being involved, which was everything I believed in terms of society and life and philosophy, you know what I mean? My philosophy on life, you know, it was being carried out, and so it was just pretty mind blowing. And anyway, I remember talking to a mate of mine, another United fan, down at home, you know, in Hertfordshire. And saying, well, we'll have to find out about it, you know. And then we heard about Leek County School Old Boys being the first game. And I says, well, you know, so see if we can get along to that. We've got to go. Let's go and have a look. Just to go and have a look, you know. And so arrange that. And what I do remember, one of the lads went away and he come back with a fixture list for FC United, you know. And I remember, because at this time, so I'm thinking about it. And as I say, it always occurred to me that really when it all started going wrong was the 70s, when they sold the badge, you know, because the badge they used to have, well, the badge the FC United got now, it's the old emblem of Manchester, you know, and United and City used to have exactly the same badge, just one in blue, one in red, you know, one saying Manchester City Football Club, one saying Manchester United Football Club, you know, and I remember thinking about, well, and I always say in my arrogant ignorance or my ignorant arrogance, I remember thinking, well, I wish I'd been involved with this FC United right from the start. Because one thing I would have done, I would have made sure they took the old badge back, you know what I mean? Thinking that no one else would have thought of that, you know what I mean? But you do, because when you get sort of disenfranchised and when you're not involved so much, and that was the whole thing about Old Trafford, you're so diluted that you don't realise there's plenty of other people feel the same as you do about it, you know what I mean? Because there was nothing to keep people together, you know, you don't meet them, you know. But so then I was sitting in my local one day and the fella come up with the fixture list and I just saw the badge on the top. And I think as soon as I saw that was probably really the moment when my life could never be the same again, you know. And I saw they had done that, and I thought, fucking hell, you know. And that's why I went around, before I even went to the game, I wrote that song about the badge. I'd never seen an FC United game, I'd been to a meeting, and you know, and done that song, which, you know, a lot of people say, good song and that, you know.
That's yours, is it?
I wrote that one, yeah.
Oh, right,
yeah.
okay.
It's not just a chorus, it's still got verses to it as well, and that, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
You know.
fun.
Yeah, so no, I'd never seen a game. Well, it hasn't changed. How's it changed my football experience? It's given me back my football experience. It hasn't changed everything. Like, people say to me, some people can't get their heads around it. They go, "You must miss Manchester United, though. You must miss Manchester United." I know. I goes, I did miss Manchester United. I missed Manchester United from about 1990 right up to 2005. Then I got them back. Now I have my Manchester United is now back, you know. I mean, I consider FC United really to be, if you like, the true ethos. I know some people find it offensive when I say the true Manchester United, but they certainly have the true ethos of the Manchester United that I knew and that I pledged my heart to, if you like, you know, that became the biggest single factor in my life was my experiences at Manchester United, you know. But stronger than any religion, there's more than a religion, more than an ethnicity, you know, more. I always consider myself ethnic Manchester United, you know, and it was, you know, more than any other influence on my life. And now I feel I have that back. Never have done, not in the slightest, because all the people I used to know at Manchester, right from the start when I used to go to Manchester United, you've got to remember back in the late 60s, early 70s, you know, coming from London, the people and you know, and there wasn't anywhere near as many used to come from London in those days, but they were all very regular fans, you know, used to go to all the games. And people who used, and United fans from Manchester who used to go to every game was always very respectful, and I think, you know, there was obviously a lot of mutual respect, you know. Let's say the fact that you come up with all this way, I got respect for that, you know. And I always loved the fact, I mean, I've always loved Mancunian. I mean, every city, you know, Merseyside, Geordieland, Manchester, and that, they've all got their unique facets of their culture and character, and I love Mancunianism. I think Manchester people are great, you know, and that's one of the things that so attracted me to United, you know, was that I just loved the sense of humour, you know, the self sort of deprecation, you know, the sense of self irony that so many Mancunians have got. I've always totally identified with it, you know, and obviously a very strong working class, you know, element to it, you know, and you've got to remember, I mean, there was a thing that David Comm done a piece in The Guardian back in season 1. I mean, there's a whole radical history in Manchester, you know, the suffragettes were founded there, you know what I mean? Punk rock, the first recognised big major punk rock festival occurred in Manchester, you know, at the Free Trade Hall. They've done a whole list of these, you know, parts of Manchester's historical radical past, and this is just another chapter, you know, and it's very much part of history, and it's very much something I identify with, you know. I mean, I've for many years, I mean, I've been involved in radical politics, you know. And there was always this ongoing argument about, well, you can get too much into the cultural side of things, and it dilutes your political integrity. You know, it's too much about things like, you know, the anti-Nazi rock against racism. You can become too populist, and you're not strong enough politically. So there's always this tension between, you know, the political and then the cultural. You know what I mean? They're trying to be popular or trying to be pure at your politics. You know, but now I can actually say, but it can be done through what is essentially a leisure activity, the working class, i.e. football. You can now hold up as a political example, because FC United is a glaring example, that, you know, a standard example of how society can be run. You know what I mean? This is how the National Health Service should be run. You know, this is how all large firms should be run. You know what I mean? And large parts of industry. You know, FC United is a role model. That's a very good question, isn't it? Because I know there's some people who say, fuck promotion, you know what I mean? Or some people used to say in the North West Counties League that have been happy to stay there, you know. I think when you're talking about a football club, I think you need to progress, you know. Certainly not progression at all costs or any cost, you know what I mean? And absolutely, you know, no, but we've got to get promoted every year, you know, as we were the first 3. But no, I mean, I've enjoyed the time in the NPL. I would like to see him get promoted this year, but obviously getting the ground sorted out is the biggest priority over anything, you know what I mean? That far more important than any promotion. But how far would I like to see him go? You know, well, when they first started, I would have been, 8 years ago now, so I would have been in my very early 50s, I'd have been 51. I'm sorry, I'm 58 now, coming up 59, so I'd have been 50, you know. And I thought I'd like to live to see him in the conference, you know, the conference top league. And now, the way it's gone, and if we get our own ground, maybe I could live to see him in the Football League, you know, in the 4th Division, maybe. Again, a very good question. I would certainly see it happening more, yes. Whether it will ever get right through to the very top, I don't know. You know, I'm sure you will see more fan clubs at the lower level, you know, because it's an obvious role model now, isn't it? When a club hits financial trouble, they're going to take over the fans, aren't they? And so, even if they have to drop down a couple of leagues to do it, you know. So, there clearly are going to be more fan-owned clubs in the lower levels. But as and when that will ever reach the very top, not as things are at the moment, you can't see it because it's just so massive and so corporate and so much money involved. If the shit ever hits the fan in terms of football, and football ever has to come back to the real world, you know, with the finances, and it all comes tumbling down, then maybe it could get through to the top, you know. But it's going to take a huge financial change in the world of football for that, you know, for it to get right to the very top level, that's for sure. No personal feelings whatsoever. I hate every fucking capitalist bastard in the world. You know? No problem with him, except it was my club he picked on. But no, it's just, I mean, the thing is, what happened at Manchester United, it isn't just United, is it? It's top level football. You know, I mean, I still still want United to win the league, you know, although I just can't get too excited about it now, you know, for all sorts of reasons, partly because, I mean, I waited them 26 years, you know, and was there the night they didn't actually win it against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, but Wimbledon. No, it was Crystal Palace. We played Palace tonight. We won 2-0. Hughes and Ince. But you know, and I mean, I was here when they in '67 when they clinched it at West Ham, and I've been through all them 26 years. You know, so that was one of the greatest nights of my life. You know, but it's so different. But waiting for it is what made it that worthwhile. You know what I mean? And I actually think it's quite possible. I mean, this is just a theory of mine. I can't say it's for certain. But I tend to think that had United not had the success through the 90s and the early 2000s that they had, FC United possibly couldn't have happened. I think one of the more subconscious factors behind it was that amongst United fans, it's the what was becoming almost inevitable and endless success just doesn't ring true somehow. You know what I mean? I mean, the English League has become a little bit like the Scottish League. You know, like every year it's Celtic and Rangers. You know, and once every 30 or 40 years, someone will break through, like Aberdeen did for a while. And I think one year Hibs only had to win their last game to win it, and then blew it, and Celtic won 5-0 at home to win it. I think I remember that. You know, but I actually think had we still been struggling for that first league championship at the time the Glazers took over, I think it might have been different. I think some people would have found it harder. I think the fact that success had become almost the norm at Old Trafford made it easier for people to go, to break away from it. Because in football, it's not the arriving, it's the journey that's, it's the wonderful thing. You know.
Do you think it's something to be said that people like being the underdogs, and I think if you're United, then
well, you certainly enjoy your success more if you fought for it. You know what I mean? You certainly. You know what I mean? It's when you expect to be. As I say, I mean, Celtic and Rangers, them clubs, they only get their joy out of beating each other now, don't they? They can't, you know what I mean? Celtic fans have won the league this year, but it must seem like almost like an anticlimax to them. We haven't been able to beat the Huns, you know what I mean? And for Rangers, if and when they ever do get back, it's going to be so much sweeter for them, that they'll have known what it's like to live on the other side for a while,
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when I first started really going to United, when I was at the impressionable age and when I was going near enough every game, I'd never miss more 2 or 3 games a season, and apart from if I was in jail, and that'd be through football, but then we finished 8th in '69, 8th in '70, 8th in '71. Then it was about 16th, then 18th, and then relegated. You know what I mean? And it was, and then had a sort of medium success won the cup under Doherty, was up near the top of the league, and it was all very exciting, and it's just that much more exciting if you've had to fight for it, and and you've known the other side,
Yeah.
And anything we get with FC, obviously we've fought, but the main thing with FC is we've made it happen. We've made it happen. No one has given us anything. We've done it all ourselves, I feel very, very proud sometimes at FC, just when I look at the people next to me, And still do. You don't feel it so much now, 8 years on, but I remember in the first couple of seasons, I just used to sort of sit and look around. And I thought, fuck me, you've walked away from the biggest football club in the world, to come and watch the North West Counties League. And I felt a tremendous sort of pride, and I have as well, and I felt a tremendous sort of collective pride, that, I'm proud to stand next to you. I hope you're proud to stand next to me. And the great sort of feeling of that sort of, solidarity. Which I just don't think you get in the Premier League now, not at any club, United's probably best, one of the better ones. Other clubs are worse, but even at United now, and they talk about the atmosphere now at United. And you see it at any Premier game, 10 minutes before the end, all the seats are empty, and people are rushing to get their car to get home and get away, It's almost like a point of honour at FC, at the end of the game you stand and clap them, you feel guilty if you try and slip away early for whatever reason, No, well, just obviously. I mean, we're obviously playoffs again this year, and I fancy us. I think we're going to do it this year. I think twice getting that near, and I do. I just don't fancy that they'll get that bit of luck this year. I reckon that they need. Not that we was massively unlucky in the previous game. I mean, Bradford last year, that they were the better side. Bradford, even though it was a last-minute goal. Colwyn Bay was a very, very tight game that just could have gone either way. It was whoever got one chance in the whole game, they got it, they scored. We had one half chance and it didn't go in, but I think we'll get a bit of luck this year. Well, yeah, I think we're probably going to do it.
I hope so. Eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice one. Right. Yes, spot on. So, can you just say for the record, what's your name again, please?
My name's Mickey O Farrell.
All right, nice one. If you just look at me rather than Matt, that'd be brilliant.
No problem.
Right. So, yes. So, where you come from today?
I've come up from Hatfield in Hertfordshire. A kid, I didn't have an awful lot of interest in football originally. I started playing it and found I was okay at it, so took an interest. So I actually didn't support a team. I came from a family. My mum was one of 10 children from the Camden area of London, all Arsenal. My grandfather, her father was a big Arsenal fan. And but I read the life story of Bobby Charlton in a comic that I used to get then. And I'd like to say I didn't have a football team to support, and so I liked the name Bobby Charlton. I thought it was a really good name. It was a name that rolled off the tongue. And I asked my mum, who does Bobby Charlton play for? She said Manchester United. I goes, right, that's what I support, Manchester United.
Fair enough, right. Okay.
Crazy reason, but and so much that's ensued from that ridiculous choice, you know. I went to my first Manchester United game, 1965. First game at Old Trafford was 1968, Easter Monday 1968.
Okay.
Fulham at home, 1-3-0.
Nice one.
Best Charlton and Aston.
So what made you support United rather than St Pauli?
It's quite a ridiculous reason, really. When I was, if it had been called Archibald Leach, in it, I think it's Cary Grant's name, isn't it? Archibald Knox or something. It might have all been my whole life might have been very, very different. Old Trafford?
Yeah.
Never had a season ticket in my life.
Right. How often did you used to go?
Well, we used to have a thing when we went from London then.